Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Friday night live stream for studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins. Welcome. We're glad you're here. What took you so long? We're glad you found us. Spread the word about this group. We are the only and largest true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been around since March 2005. Been featured on 60 Minutes and Fox News and many, many other things over the years. And I'm here to tell you that we are now finally, I think, in fact, I know, reaching the end of this very long journey. Student loans are failed in this country, and that's by every rational metric. So, but this stuff does not happen in a vacuum, ladies and gentlemen. We could have a bad outcome to this thing, or we could have a good outcome. The good outcome, oh, look at this. Look at oh, she does not like being picked up. Okay, all right. Production value there. This can have a good ending, bad ending. The good ending is we get these loans canceled. We get bankruptcy returned to all federal student loans. In fact, all student loans, private and federal, and we get the president to cancel all federally owned student loans. That's the good outcome. And I'd like to get that done before November, if you please. But this could have a bad outcome, and much depends on what we do or what we don't do. Believe it or not, this group is the tip of the spear in this entire fight. We've got a great bill to fight for right now, S-2598, which will return bankruptcy protections to student loans. We would not have that bill to fight for, but for the people in our group. Oh, Kitty, watch out. No. Go. Sorry. We would not have a bill to fight for, but for the people on this group fighting this battle day in and day out. Like every day in and day out. So that's really something. Also, this is the group that started the petition in March 2020 calling on the president to cancel all federally owned student loans by executive order. So almost nobody was talking about canceling student loans by executive order at that time. And in fact, the very first media article that I can find, which even discusses the topic, was a very seminal interview we did with Vice News in August 2019. So it was only when our petition started getting really big that finally, lo and behold, Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren embraced the concept, and we're glad they did. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that they really dumbed it down. This up to $50,000 nonsense, these weasel words that they stuck in there really wrecked the concept, and they made it so that whatever loan cancellation might come out of that, at least in the current political climate, up to will be used to make sure that nobody gets almost anything. It will be bureaucratized to death. So anyways, as I said, I'm glad you're here. If you have any questions or comments, if you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter, by all means, throw your comments up. And if I can see them, which is not always a guarantee, but if I can, I will gladly respond to them. So tonight, I want to answer a very simple question. The question is, will canceling student loans cause inflation? If you were to Google that question right now, you'd probably get 24 articles published within the past month that say, yes, absolutely, canceling student loans is going to double the price of chocolate or something. Yeah, you will see all sorts of oppositional media lodged against. Okay. Go. See a bunch of stuff saying yes, but that is asinine and ridiculous. And if you go to bit.ly/won't cause inflation, all lowercase, you will see why that is true. But I will take you through the argument right now because it's very simple, actually. So the average student loan payment across all 43.2 million borrowers is about $400 a month. Okay, $400 a month. At 8.5% annual inflation, which we are running at right now, the monthly increase in the average household's monthly expenses is $500. So that's almost all you really need to hear. That's the top line argument. So student loan borrowers are being wrecked by inflation, and canceling student loans, assuming it did put $400 back into their pockets every month. That's another point that I'll make in a minute. Another question I'll address in a minute. Even if it did return $400 a month into the pockets of all borrowers, it would not even allow their households, and they being a member of their households, to keep up with the increase in their monthly expenses. And if they go out and try and get a loan, any fair underwriter for the loan, they'll look at their financials and say, yeah, well, maybe a couple of years ago we would have given you the loan because you would have had that $400 extra a month to spend, but now you don't because inflation. So you're not going to get the loan. So canceling student loans will not cause inflation. But there's a couple of other very important points to be made here. First of all, the inflation that we're seeing right now in the economy, it's not because there's people with a whole ton of money walking around chasing all these, luxury or even any items to buy that they wouldn't have otherwise went out and bought. And there, too many people chasing with too much money, chasing around too few goods. The too few goods is true, but the inflation that we're seeing is supply pushed. It's a supply chain thing. It's the price of gas because of gas shortages in Russia or whatever that is. It's a fertilizer shortage that's apparently increasing the price of food. It's supply chain problems, blockages in the South China Sea, etc., logistics, etc., plus the price of gas, which kind of stands behind all of that. It's a supply-driven phenomenon that we're dealing with, the inflation that we're seeing today. So that's just a very important fact to keep in mind. But, there's even more to it than that, guys. Before the pandemic, 64.3%. That's nearly 2/3 of all federal student loan borrowers. They were not making payments on their loans. So they weren't making $400 payments. They weren't making reduced payments. They weren't making payments at all. So canceling student loans isn't going to free up money for them because they weren't spending that money somewhere else. They weren't spending that money on repaying their student loans in the first place. So that's everything that I said at the very beginning. Like, that's now stronger by 3/2 or whatever the fraction works out to be. So it's just nonsense. And now here for the past 2 years, nobody has been making payments. So they're doing what they were doing. Everybody is now doing what 2/3 of everybody was doing before the pandemic, which is not paying. So canceling the student loans doesn't magically drop $400 a month into the pockets of these borrowers so they can run out and buy yachts and private airplanes or even cat food for that matter. Speaking of cats. So the claim that canceling student loans will exacerbate, cause, inflame, do anything to inflation is nonsensical and ridiculous and asinine. And anybody making that claim, you should remember what I said. And if you can't remember this, bit.ly/won't cause inflation. All lowercase, all one word. And you can very quickly shut up the haters who are trying to make this argument. And, it's pretty sad that we even have to answer this argument in the first place. I don't like playing defense, ladies and gentlemen, but the opposition is throwing such a furious flurry of nonsense like that into the zeitgeist right now, we kind of have to, at least up to a point. But, past a certain point, guys, you have to remember, we have the initiative on this. We need to seize the initiative back. We are the largest untethered voting bloc in U.S. history, certainly in my lifetime. We are not only 43.2 unique federal student loan borrowers, we are also between 10 and 15 million private student loan borrowers and cosigners. So we're talking about like 57 million student loan borrowers in the country. And believe it or not, 80% of us, 4 out of 5, 42 million of us are losing sleep over our student loans. I know a lot of people out there like to suffer in silence, and they think their student loan problems are their own. They won't even tell their wives and husbands and significant others and friends, family about their student loan troubles. But I'm here to tell you, 80% of everybody, even before the pandemic, was never going to be able to repay their student loans. They were either not paying at all, and that's 2/3, or they were paying and paying and paying, and their student loan balance was going up, not down, up. So that's 42 million distressed voters, and we do vote. I believe, Colin, I don't have this fact proven off the top of my head, but I think it's a pretty fair bet to say that people who have been to college vote at a higher rate than the average in the population. So student loan cancellation will not cause inflation. We are the largest voting bloc in U.S. history, and anybody trying to put us on defense is fighting a losing battle. The lending system is failed. The most important thing I'll say tonight, the lending system is a dead man walking, ladies and gentlemen. In my humble opinion, nobody should ever pay another dollar back certainly on their federal loans ever again. Almost nobody's paying now. 2/3 weren't paying before the pandemic. And whenever the Department of Education and the president have the chutzpah, the brass balls to try and turn this lending system back on, almost no one is going to pay. I would be stunned if and six months ago, I said, I would be stunned if even 20% of the borrowers resume making payments on their loans if and when they try and turn the lending program back on. That was 6 months ago. The longer they wait, the more they screw around and extend this repayment pause, the fewer people who are going to pay. So at this point, I would be pretty surprised if even 15 or 20% resume paying on their loans when they try and turn the lending system back on. The lending system is dead, ladies and gentlemen. It may still be kind of walking around or pretending to be alive. No, it's not. It's like a chicken with its head cut off. It's only a matter of time. The lending system is vanishing into a mist of illegitimacy. Now, as I said, this could have a good ending, a good clean death where they cancel most or all of the loans, return bankruptcy to all of the loans. People can get on with their lives and forget about this very dark chapter in American history. Or the swamp, our opposition, people like Beth Akers and Larry Summers and Jason Delisle and many others who are paid to try and keep this lending scam alive, and it is a scam. In fact, I wrote a book called The Student Loan Scam back in like 12 or 13 years ago, 14 years ago. Trademark. If the people trying to keep this scam alive win, then we're looking at a very messy, very terrible unwinding. Could take years. Who knows? And it will get terrible, guys. It will be sort of dystopian. It'll be a civilly, socially unrestful unwinding. People will probably die. Who knows? Who knows? But it won't be pretty. And we don't want that bad outcome, guys. We want these loans gone. It's time to put this failed experiment onto the scrap heap of failed U.S. policy history. or something. It's time for student loans to be talked about in the past tense. So to that end, the most important thing, if you're looking for something to do rather than watch a talking head on the internet, there are some very simple things you can do. Number one, and we need you to do them, go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and do, I'd say, at least a week, if not a month worth of our daily actions. Right now, we've got a very special action going on where we've created a huge, like a box of chocolates. All of our tweets going back to, I think, a year ago are contained in this grab bag. Grab at least 10 of those tweets and retweet them. It is such a powerful muscle that we have to flex, ladies and gentlemen, when everybody does it. You know, all those tweets are as or more relevant today than the day that we launched them. And we need to double, triple down. We need to reinforce all those very important tweets. And so check it out. Go to our website, go to our daily action link, and you can see this special action that we've been doing for the past 4 days. It's very simple. It's, quite frankly, I think it's fun. It's just Twitter stuff. It'll take you seconds to do. Like, not even minutes. It will take you seconds to do them. It is by far and away the most effective use of your time. Just so you know, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you're very welcome here on this group. We love you. We're glad you're here. But we all need to be fighting, because right now we have a bill, and this is the most important policy point I'll make tonight. We will not see any meaningful student loan cancellation from President Biden unless and until we get the threat, the leverage of bankruptcy rights back on our side. I know nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. I know it's a terrible thing to have to do. Believe me, that's not the point. Very few people should even have to file. Maybe no one will even have to file. But we have got to get this right returned to us, because as long as the threat of bankruptcy is not in our back pocket, looming over the head of the president and the Department of Education, they will continue to, pardon my French, fuck us around. That's what they've done for the past 17 years. As long as the threat of bankruptcy remains gone, they can string us along and string us along and screw us around, and we have absolutely no recourse. We have to bend over and take it. That's what they've been doing for 17 years. 17 very long years, I might add. We can't allow ourselves to be fooled again. $10,000 is meaningless. Up to $50,000 will come to mean almost nothing for almost everyone. And if you want real relief, we have to get the threat of bankruptcy back. You shouldn't even have to file. Just having the threat alone is enough to compel the Department of Education and the president to broadly, meaningfully, maybe even totally cancel loans. And just a universe of other good faith fixes to the lending scam that will help everybody in every way. Unless and until we get that back, we're not going to see any kind of meaningful student loan cancellation. We're not going to see any kind of meaningful improvements in the way they do the lending program. They're going to keep bureaucratizing it to being a sick, cruel joke where you and your life and your livelihood are the punchline. That's how that's going to go, ladies and gentlemen. We've been doing this for 17 years now. Believe me. So, hey, I see we have some comments here tonight. I see Crispy Street. Hey, Crispy Street is with us. Jane Sovchenko and Edward McKinley, our fearless co-leader, is also with us tonight. Hey, Ed. Let me see what the comments. We've been doing this for 17 years now. Hold for us. Hey, Edward McKinley, Mr. Ed. I told everybody what you told me to tell them last night, by the way. I don't know if it worked or not. Ed says they want to legitimize an illegitimate criminal system. That's right. You know, I could talk for an hour about the actual crimes that have been committed against us, the borrowers, by the schools, by the lenders, the Department of Education. I could talk about the corruptions, the illegal kickbacks, the illegal bribes that really were never prosecuted, but we proved it was proven. You know, back in 2006, we were featured top story on 60 Minutes, believe it or not. Which was also Elizabeth Warren's very first splash in the national spotlight, I might add. But we were actually the featured guest. That 60 Minutes piece spawned a Senate investigation that literally uncovered many instances of illegal bribes and kickbacks to financial aid administrators, and from some very hoity-toity colleges like Columbia University. I believe that's an Ivy League school, is it not? University of Southern California, which is actually my alma mater, and others. These financial aid administrators were fired on the spot. Quite frankly, they should have been arrested and charged. But in any event, you're right, Ed. It's an illegal system. And as I said, I think earlier, in my humble opinion, nobody should let me restate that. In my humble opinion, anyone who ever pays another dollar on their federal student loans is not only unwise, they're unpatriotic. You know, this student loan scam is the camel's nose under the tent, ladies and gentlemen. If they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, they could easily conquer and enslave this whole entire nation in a matter of a few years. They could do what they did to student loans to medical debt. They could do what they did to student loans to credit card debt, any debt they want. Make it on paper possible, but as a practical matter, impossible to discharge the debt in bankruptcy. And that is exactly what the founding fathers were afraid of when they called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution ahead of the power to declare war and ahead of the power to raise an army. I kid you not. Read the Constitution. Article 1, Section 8. See it for yourself. Hey, James Wachenko says, hi, all. Happy Friday. Keep up the good fight. Will not pay on these ridiculously backward loans, ever. They'll have to take this Nana's Social Security check. That would make for great press, right? Good for you, Jane. You know, so many of our members have vowed not another dollar. In fact, hashtag not one more dollar. We got trending for a little while there. Hey, Crispy Street says, and by the way, if you have any questions, throw them out. I'm happy to answer any and all that I know. I am an open book. Crispy Street says, hi, Alan, can you help me explain to others why cancellation would not impact taxpayers? Thank you, Chris. That's a great question. Yes, I can. Canceling student loans would not only require not one dime from the Treasury, it would add not even a penny to the national debt. And because President Obama federalized the program in 2010, the taxpayer has been getting paid a ton of money over the years. And even going back to 2004, the federal government was making a profit, not a loss, a profit on defaulted student loans. So it could well be that the 100% of all federally owned loans could be canceled tomorrow. And the federal government wouldn't be losing any money at all. I can't say that that's absolutely true. Nobody knows exactly how much of that federal loan portfolio is unpaid principal versus what they've collected in the past and the profits that they've made. But we do know the Department of Education was posting $50 billion in annual profits on the lending system since about 2012, 2013. The program was federalized in 2010. My best guess is that for the past 10 years, the government has roughly lent out something like 95, maybe $100 billion a year, somewhere in there. Let's call it 97. They have gotten back from us, the borrowers, every year around $70 billion. So my best guess was that is that there's something like 250, $300 billion of unpaid principal of that $1.6 trillion outstanding. So if they canceled all the loans at the end of the day, my best guess would be that the taxpayers would be out something like $250 billion. But that's a tiny fraction of the $1.6 trillion that is outstanding. That's just a nonsense number. That's a garbage number, by the way. The loans are garbage. In fact, I would be stunned if they ever recovered a couple $100 billion on this portfolio. Nobody's paying, guys. Nobody's paying. The lending system is vanishing into a mist of illegitimacy as we speak, and student loans are becoming a thing of the past. So it's a little bit of an interesting answer there, but my guess is that at most the taxpayers would be out very little now, or perhaps nothing. Could be nothing. Could actually be nothing. Could actually be that they'll be in the black if they cancel all the loans tomorrow. That's sort of doubt that, but it could be true. Now compare that to PPP loans, guys. We just threw out, for example, $1 trillion in PPP loans. 75% of those loans went to the wealthiest 20% in the country. In other words, the highest earning 20% of people in the country, people earning over $100,000 a year. All of those PPP loans required money to be drawn from the Treasury, required all that same money to be added to the national debt. Not so for federal student loans. The president can cancel these loans tomorrow. No money would even change hands. Not one dime would be needed from the taxpayer, from the Treasury. Not one penny would be added to the national debt. There is no easier, cheaper way to stimulate the economy. There's no easier, cheaper way to get rid of this failed lending system, which is what needs to happen. We need to take this thing to the bath and drown it in the tub. So I hope that answers your question, Chris. But if you're interested, just look at our petition, change.org/cancel student loans. Read our petition. It's very clear there. I'd like to think I wrote that thing fairly clearly, and you can read it for yourself. Hey, Victoria's with us tonight. How are you, Victoria? Victoria says they, quote unquote, are pushing PSFL. I think you mean PLSF, Public Service Loan Forgiveness, PSLF. However, there are lots of problems with that program, such as not including retro payments prior to their founding the program and who the eligible organizations are. It is a mess that they are going to try to give us a Band-Aid. Yeah, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program has always been a cruel joke. Income-based repayment, Victoria, has always been a cruel joke. In fact, all of the repayment or loan cancellation gimmicks that they've tried to foist upon us since 1995 have been cruel jokes, and we have been the punchline. Millions of people have tried for income contingent repayment, pay as you earn, revised pay as you earn, public service loan forgiveness, income-based repayment. And a lot of history has shown that way over 99% of the people trying for all those things have been disqualified out of the programs for one reason or another. This is what the Department of Education does. They have no desire or intentions of canceling any loans. So if you didn't dot your I, if you didn't cross your T, if you earned too much, if you went into default, if this, that, the other reason, million reasons, they can disqualify people out of those programs. And that's exactly what they do. The Department of Education cannot be trusted to administer fairly and in good faith anything regarding these loans. They've never done it. They're not doing it now. They never will do it. Frankly, but for a ton of political pressure from some unions recently, where we're finally seeing some marginally significant loan cancellation through the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, it's just a joke. It's never going to happen. The Department of Education has never, is not now, and will never administer any loan cancellation gimmick that might be put on them by Congress or the president. They will use every possible avenue to not cancel loans. And frankly, I'm still dubious that revised public service thing is going to be meaningful at all. Already we're hearing from dozens of people who said, yeah, no, my stuff is still getting declined. My payments are still not being counted. I have no idea what's going on over there. And there's a deadline coming up, by the way, where you have to consolidate your loans into the proper program, into the direct loan program, in order to qualify for this revised public service thing. That is a dicey proposition in the first place. I tell everybody, be very careful about signing any kind of new loan document with the Department of Education. It could be a trap. It could be a trick. Everything they've ever done that we've looked at, and we've looked very closely over the years, has been a trick or a trap. Every little thing every little new nuance, any sort of guidance, any new program that they've initiated has turned out to benefit them, not the borrowers. Every mistake they ever make always benefits them. That's how that rolls. That's why we need the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, guys. It's one of the many reasons. We need the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy, least of all me, least of all you. That's not the point. S-2598 is the most important bill that we have to fight for right now. It returns bankruptcy protections to federal student loans, and it's got bipartisan support. As I said, we are a fiercely, not apolitical, but we are a nonpartisan group. If you're a Republican, you're very welcome here. If you're a Democrat, if you're a Green, if you're a communist or an anarchist, you're very welcome here. Having said that, we have to be very politically aware. And the fact of the matter is that we need Republicans to be on our side right now. For years and years, they have opposed us. And I'm not saying the Democrats are great. They're not. We pretty much hate both parties. But it's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. And the Republicans are the bad cop. Well, right now, I'm very thrilled to tell you that this bill, S-2598 in the Senate, has two Republican co-sponsors on it. Josh Hawley out of Missouri, John Cornyn out of Texas. This bill could pass tomorrow. We need to do everything we can to pass this bill because, ladies and gentlemen, as I said probably 3 times already, we are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. So forget about all the noise, guys. I know it's so easy to be distracted by all the bullshit being thrown in the zeitgeist right now by our opposition. There's so much noise out there. I don't even see the noise anymore. I've been doing this every day for 17 years now. I do not read Forbes magazine anymore. I won't read it. I don't even read Yahoo anymore because they are shills. They are swamp creatures fighting for the swamp. I don't bother with that because all that bullshit is propaganda that is designed to discourage, demoralize, but more than anything, keep you sitting there reading their shit, doing nothing, not fighting for yourself, hoping, waiting, worrying, and watching, and doing nothing. That's the most important thing, to fight for yourself. Don't be distracted. It's exactly what our opposition wants. They want you sitting on your ass, watching what's going on like it's a tennis game and not doing anything. Don't give them the pleasure. It's the biggest threat to this whole movement here that we have going, this student loan justice movement. Hey, Jane says, so many of us have stayed in lower paying jobs just to quote unquote hang in there with the public service loan forgiveness program. At the end of a decade, they say no, and then we are out of the income and they can wreck careers in addition to general well-being. I'm telling you, Jane, you're preaching to the choir. This public service loan forgiveness program was the biggest trap ever. And income-based repayment, same thing. They've never had any desire or intentions of canceling those loans. They had every intention and desire of kicking almost everyone, 99-point-something% of the people, out of those programs and leaving them owing far, far more, by the way. So people spent years and years and years in lower paying public service jobs in the expectation they'd be getting their loans canceled, only to find out, no, sorry, you didn't dot that I, you didn't do that, you earned a little too much. Oh, the company you work for, they lost their 501c3 status, whatever. Everything they can do to not cancel loans. And lo and behold, the rejection rate for public service loan forgiveness was at 99, maybe 98% the last I checked. That's the disqualification rate, not the success rate. Public service, income-based repayment, pay-as-you-earn, revised pay-as-you-earn, ICR, all of those nonsense programs are anchors. They're anchors disguised as life jackets. Don't be fooled. Don't let them fuck you around. Take your life back from those assholes. Anyways, I'm not a psychologist, but Jane also says, yep, and they won't untangle my husband and my spousal consolidations that they talked us into doing. That's another smaller but yet not insignificant trap. A lot of people consolidate their loans on the spousal consolidation programs. If they get a divorce or otherwise, I think even if one of the spouses dies, they cannot untangle themselves from that spousal consolidation. It's pretty disgusting. It's one of dozens and dozens and dozens of terrible, unforeseen by you, but probably planned by them consequences that only serve to make the lenders more and more money. We don't have to take this shit, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, what more can I tell you? We don't have to take this shit. Lending systems fail from time to time. This one is done. Subprime, that was failed. Compared to subprimes, student loans are way more failed. The default rate for subprime home mortgages was 20%. The default rate for 2004 borrowers who are only borrowing a third of what's being borrowed today is 40%. So if everybody walking around with student loans today, my best estimate is that the default rate, even before COVID, was going to be something like 70, 75%. That's 3 times higher than the subprime home mortgage default rate. More than 3 times higher, way more than 3 times. The lending system is done, guys. It's toast. You should be talking about it in the past tense. So, all right, guys, it's Friday. I know I sound pissed off much of the time. I've never been more confident. We're seeing some very good things happening right now. Our bill has never been in a better place. I hope very much to have some meaningful news for you on that in the coming days or weeks. I was hoping to have news for you like 2 weeks ago, believe it or not, but no news yet. It's not bad news, so that's, in my opinion, good. We're very close on a number of fronts. We've got a number of very interesting, both local and national news and international news media stories in the hopper. Things are changing. Right makes might. And the truth, finally, our truth, the objective truth, which is on our side, thankfully, is finally rising to the top. I know our opposition they have set the throttle to furious, and we're seeing 5, 6, sometimes even 7 oppositional articles written or repeated against us in the media. That's how our opposition works. Don't be discouraged. Don't be distracted. We got this. Look at the comments below all of these millions of hit pieces being launched against us. If you look at the comments today, they run about 70-30 in our favor, if not 80-20, by and large. Now, that's something where even 4 years ago, the comments against us would have been 80-20 the other way. Like 15 years ago, when we first were getting this thing started, the negative comments against us were running like 15-1, 10-1, 15-1 against us. Now they're in our favor. So the more people start scratching their head and talking to their friends and family and neighbors about this problem, the more they're finally coming to realize that, yeah, something is deeply, deeply, deeply wrong with this lending system. So, but guys, this stuff does not happen in a vacuum. As I said before, and I'll say again, it's the most important thing I will say tonight. This stuff does not happen in a vacuum. What you do matters. You have no idea how important you are. This big thing, whatever you want to call it, this terrible thing, it's about to collapse. It could only be one straw that you pull out, one little poke that you do that finally causes this thing to evaporate into a mist of illegitimacy. That's good, a good thing. It's a very good thing. It only takes one person, for example, to make that perfect phone call, have that perfect conversation with that, Republican governor's aide. Maybe you're talking to Ron DeSantis' staffer in Florida, and you tell them how badly Florida is being hurt by these loans. And by the way, the state budget of Florida is $80 billion. Student loan debt in Florida is $120 billion. The assessed value of Disney World is only $2 billion. So you could buy Disney World 60 times over with all the student loan debt hanging around the neck of the people of Florida. So you sitting there could be the one person that opens up Governor Ron DeSantis' eyes. And I'm here to tell you guys, if even one Republican, that's very important, not Democratic, Republican, if even one Republican governor were to stand up tomorrow and say, Mr. President, enough, I will not let the great state of Florida be conquered and enslaved by this federal debt. Enough. Not doing it. Mr. President, cancel these loans. If we can get one Republican governor to do that, that's pretty much game over. We win, guys. You could be you sitting there. You could be the person that makes that happen. And it's not just Florida. It's all of the states are bad, but some of the worst states are states like Texas, like Indiana, like North Carolina, South Carolina, like Georgia is probably the worst state. If we could get Governor Brian Kemp to stand up and say, Mr. President, cancel the loans, that's pretty much game over. We win. Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, the entire South, okay, the entire South, Louisiana, New Hampshire's terrible. I mean, all the states are terrible, but all of the states that I just mentioned, with the exception of North Carolina, all have Republican governors. So think about that. Chris Sununu, governor of New Hampshire, Republican. Kristi Neem, N-O-E-M, governor of South Dakota, same thing. Student loan debt in both of those states exceeds the entire state budget. So you have no idea how important you could be. And you can't sit there and wait and watch and worry and eat popcorn and think that anybody in this group is going to pull your weight for you. That never works. It never happens. And shame on you for being lazy. Don't be lazy. We need you in this fight with us. You're not better than us, by the way. You're not. You can't sit above it all and eat popcorn and cheerlead. No. And if you want to do that, then you should leave because we don't want you here. I look at Victoria and Chris and Jane and Ed and everybody else I'm seeing in the comments. Those guys are doing the work. And it's not even hard, but they are very diligent and persistent and on a daily basis doing those daily actions. Daily actions. Why aren't you? If you're not, why aren't you? If you are, I salute you. We're the pioneers in this. And we almost kind of, in a way, single-handedly changed this whole thing to where we are now here today. We have come so far in the past 2 years. And now we are knocking on the door. We're close, guys. We're close. But it's always hardest to get over that final push, the final stretch. We need you with us fighting. We don't need cheerleaders anymore. We never did. We need you with us fighting, getting your knuckles bloody, a little dirty if you need to. Standing up, making the argument. And the last thing I'm going to say tonight is, speaking of making the argument, the most effective thing besides doing our daily actions that everybody should be doing on a daily basis every single day, it's Twitter, it's easy, it takes seconds. The other thing that will help you tremendously is go to our Medium site and read the most recent 7 articles, 6, 7, 8 articles. There are some very important unreported facts contained in there that if everybody knew them, this problem would be done. If everybody knew the unreported facts that are in these articles, this problem would be solved tomorrow. So read those. It will make you a very effective student loan justice warrior. And we need you in this fight because these are your loans. This is your livelihood, and you can't sit back and expect that anybody's going to pull your weight for you. Get in the game. We need you. The battle is raging, and we need you with us fighting. So, okay, guys, I'm thrilled. I hope that you're pleased. Let's hope that this next coming week brings big things for us. Don't forget about the weekend, guys. We can be doing all this stuff over the weekend too. Internet does not sleep. So make it happen. Buck up and take some heart in where we're at. I'm thrilled. And I can't wait to finally win this battle. It's been too long. So let's get it done, shall we? Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Sunday night. Keep us posted as to your accomplishments. We love to brag on our members' accomplishments. So get something done. Make something happen. Do stuff that I haven't said. Obviously, we're smart people. We can think for ourselves. We've all been to college. We're all pretty clever. Maybe in your local area, maybe with your local media, you can get them to report. We stand behind you 100% as you go forward. We can help you in a number of ways with your local media, with your local legislatures, your politicians. If you need us, we got your back. Just let us know. But it's got to start with you. So, all right, guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Sunday. Good luck. Godspeed. God bless everyone.